what's going on? Welcome back to Man Views, where I cover everything that is fatherhood related. Today's video is a pretty much a wild one. So this mother had multiple affairs. So as always, I'm gonna let y'all watch this video and I'm gonna leave my comments toward the end. Big shout out and credit to FamilyCourtChaos. Let's get straight to it.
Judge, these are various motions that we've got pending today. We've got a motion to split the parties' marital expenses pending the final decree. Specifically, the mother is 3 car payments behind on her vehicle, and they're calling to repossess it, calling my client. In anticipation of today's court date, I subpoenaed the records from her bank, and it appears as if she has the ability to pay those. But she's spending money on bars and beer and men. So we're asking that this court order her to make sure that she's paying those and also paying half of everything else at the home. We're asking for exclusive possession of the marital residence. The mother is residing with a Paramour currently, a Mr. Giordano, I believe. I have subpoenaed one of her paramours here today. Dial Tile to testify regarding her inappropriate marital conduct. We're asking for the court to adopt our temporary parenting plan and for Pendeni-like custody of the minor child. Mr. Williams has been the primary caregiver for that child until the mother was served with this matter, wherein she inserted herself and insisted that she would be caring for the child at least every other day. She keeps the child out late at night at the Paramour's home until 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and then comes home and has the child, locks the child in her room with her on her nights with the child kicking and screaming because the child used to spend the night in the father's room. We had a motion for step-parent adoption, not step-parent adoption, I'm sorry, step-parent visitation. Miss Williams has got another child, Neeland. Unfortunately, I think Miss Williams has used that child as a pawn and has poisoned that well at this point. So my client, Mr. Williams, for the sake of not upsetting that child, is going to strike his motion as to step-parent visitation. Because Miss Williams will stop at nothing to hurt Mr. Williams. And I would have Mr. Williams to testify, I've got his family to testify, and I've got Mr. Lindsay to testify regarding the mother's inappropriate behavior.
All right, Ms. Williams, you are here today. Do you have a lawyer representing you? All right, you understand what these motions are and what we're doing today then? All right, then Ms. Duke, you may call your first witness.
Please state your full name for the record.
Ethan Andrew Williams.
And Mr. Williams, did you come to my office in order to file a complaint for divorce against me?
Yes, I did.
Tell the court why you are seeking a divorce from Ms.
I'm seeking a divorce from my wife because I have found out that she's been unfaithful in our marriage, along with not doing her portion of taking care of the child, financial responsibilities, and things of that nature.
During your marriage, have you come to find out that she has had at least 3 paramours as of late?
And that's correct.
Okay, one of which is seated in the courtroom today, is that correct?
That's correct.
And Ms. Williams has admitted to her infidelity with Mr. Giordano and with Mr. Beatty, is that correct?
And that's correct.
Okay. During the course and scope of your marriage, have you been the primary caregiver for your minor child?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and how old is your minor child?
He's 3.
Okay. And where, prior to the filing of the complaint for divorce, was the minor child spending the night every night?
With me in my stepson's bedroom. We basically had to have our own little bedroom.
Okay. And your stepson, who is that?
Neelan Shoemake.
Okay. And have you practically raised Neeland?
Yes, close to the age of what Rowan is now, which is just a little over 3.
Okay. Since he was 3 years old, is that correct?
That's correct.
And how long have you and Miss Williams been married?
Be 2 years in September.
Okay. And Neelan Shoemake, have you been his coach, his baseball coach?
I've coached baseball, basketball, and football. been a part of his life, almost everything he's done.
Okay. And have you been there for his games when Miss Williams decides she doesn't want to even go to the games?
Yes, I have not missed a game, and I don't miss practices.
Okay. At one point in time, did Miss Williams try to ask you to go to Gatlinburg and write off the kids' games?
Yes, tried to get me to get my assistant coach to coach and for me to leave him.
Okay. And did you agree to do that?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did she go on by herself?
She went anyways.
Now, we're going to skip around just a little bit, but you hired a private investigator, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And did you discover where your minor children were spending the majority of their time?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And where was that?
That was at Wade Giordano's house, along with his parents.
Do you know Mr. Giordano?
No, I've never met him.
Okay. Did you find out from the investigative report that he has been driving the family Telluride vehicle?
Yes,
Okay. And was that when Miss Emily Williams was headed to the daycare to pick up the minor children?
yes, he was driving.
And did that cause you concern?
It did. I know nothing about him.
Did the investigator discover that Mr. Giordano was speeding at high rates of speed, 15 and 20 miles over the speed limit?
Yes,
Did that give you cause for concern?
of course.
By picking up the children from daycare?
That is them. I believe that's a gas station that they went after picking up from daycare, but yes.
Okay. And wife's car at Mr. Giordano's house?
Yes, it is.
To your knowledge, is Mr. Giordano actually married and going through a divorce?
I know nothing about him.
Okay. Judge, I'd submit those as the first marked
Markham
exhibit.
is Exhibit 1 collected.
How did you come to find out that Miss Williams was cheating on you
Which time?
this last time?
This previous time?
Yes.
From Mr. Lindsay's wife.
Okay. And Mr. Lindsay's wife informed you that she was having sex with Mr. Lindsay or having a relationship with Mr. Lindsay.
She was having a relationship, if not trying to. We didn't get too far into details, but she did have information that they were trying to start a relationship.
Okay. And Mr. Lindsay provided documents today pursuant to the discovery request that we sent via subpoena that indicated via Facebook and Facebook Messenger, TikTok. Admittedly, he had deleted all of his text messages with her except for the most recent ones. But from those Facebook messages and the other messages that you reviewed, did it indicate that he was having a intimate relationship with your wife?
It wasn't something I'd feel comfortable texting my buddy's wife.
Okay. And was it asking her to show him her breasts in a not so nice manner?
It was in one of the pictures, yes.
Okay. When you asked Miss Williams about Mr. Lindsay, did she tell you he was just a friend of hers?
Yes,
Okay. And you came to find out from Mr. Lindsay and from his wife that that was not in fact the case?
yeah, that was a lie. I was told that he was happily married with 2 kids, and that was farther from the truth.
Okay. And she has had an affair with Cody Beatty, is that correct?
And that's correct.
Okay. And you caught her in that affair, is that correct?
She admitted it.
And the third affair, when I asked her this morning about her having pretty much moved out of the residence except for her bringing the child back at 10:30 at night to sleep in the residence every other day, did she allege that she moved out because you got physical with her?
That was her reasoning.
Okay, and is that the first you've heard of that?
It is.
Has she called the police or made any report to you about that?
No, she has not.
Have you caught Miss Williams in so many lies that you can't count them any longer?
Absolutely.
Okay. Are you concerned about the child's health and safety in her care based on the fact that she's allowed the child to be around Mr. Giordano, Mr. Beatty, Mr. Lindsay without having much regard for your input on that?
Yes,
Her relationship with Mr. Lindsay, I'm sorry, with Mr. Giordano just started, is that correct?
that's correct. I believe it started the 29th of June, roughly.
Okay, started the 29th of June, and when did she start spending the night at Mr. Giordano's house?
As far as I know, instantly.
And how long after that did your children start spending the night over there?
As far as Rowan goes,
Spending time over there, I
spending time
should
over
say.
there. Yeah, they were staying there about the same time she started. Every night that she had him, she'd stay till anywhere from 10 to 10:50, 11, whenever she got him home.
And does that concern you?
Yes, it does.
Prior to the filing of the divorce complaint, did she pick the kids up from school?
I normally always picked him up.
Okay. Did she care for the children?
Most of the time, whenever she got off work, she would go to the back bedroom and she would lay on the bed, play on her phone, and I would typically cook, do baths, put the kids to sleep. That was my routine, to put both boys to sleep, to make sure that they were fed and whatnot. And no, she kind of would vanish.
Okay. And the boys got used to that, is that correct?
That's correct.
Including her child, Neeland. Now, let's talk about Neeland for a second. Has she said things to the child that she should not say in your presence?
Yes,
Okay. Has she blamed you for this divorce to Neeland, the child that you helped father that was not your child?
yes,
And did you have a pretty good working relationship with his father, with Neeland's father?
I would say I had a really good relationship with
Okay.
Jeremy.
And since this complaint has been filed, has he had to cut you off because of threats that Ms. Williams has made to him about allowing you to see that child?
He did call me and said that he didn't want any part of this, that she said that he was going to testify against her. So I think it freaked him out.
Is he scared of her lies, scared she's going to lie on him in order to keep that child from Mr. Shoemake?
I think he's worried that he's about to have a new baby and he doesn't want any more drama with her.
Does it concern you that she's using both kids as pawns in this divorce?
I'm not surprised now.
Okay. Does it concern you, though?
Yes, it does.
Okay. The night that she got served, can you describe, or the day that she got served, can you describe for this court her reaction and how she all of a sudden became a parent?
Well, at first she found out, I guess it was around lunchtime, and she called me threatening, basically saying, I can't believe that I'm taking Rowan away, that now instead of 50-50, now she wants sole custody over him, using it just to hurt me. And so later on that afternoon or that night, I had Rowan at the house. When she got home, she was kind of in a fit or fury, and she basically came in the bedroom and told Rowan that was laying down with me that he was going to go sleep with her, and he wasn't given a choice. It was her night. She decided it was her night. So she took him into the bedroom, and he kicked and screamed and cried, "Daddy." And at one point, she finally had to lock the door to keep him from running out to try to come to me.
And to the best of your knowledge, did he have to cry himself to sleep that night?
That night, yes, he probably did.
Did it upset you enough that when she's asserted since the filing of this complaint for divorce that you've had to hide from Rowan in the house so that she can sleep at night with the child?
Yes, I have to leave the residence because I can't go through watching him do that again.
Okay. And have you maintained steady possession of the residence when she's absented herself with these paramours?
Yes,
With regard to the Telluride vehicle, is that her responsibility in the marriage to pay that since she's driving it?
yes.
Okay. And when she realized this divorce was coming, did she stop paying that note?
It seemed like the payment started lapsing more and more.
Okay. And how far behind is the Telluride right now?
As far as I know now, we're close to 3 months.
Okay. And we subpoenaed her bank records, is that correct?
Yes, we did.
And by reviewing her bank records, could she just refrain from spending money on Mr. Lindsay and spending money on beer and spending money on trips to Florida and Gatlinburg and get that note paid every month?
Yes, you would think she'd be able to.
Okay. Does she, who does she work for?
Center for Dental Excellence, Steve DeLoach.
Okay. And does she make a good wage?
She does.
Okay. Bring home about 1,700 every other week?
I believe it's close to that.
Okay. And how much is the Telluride payment?
I believe it's $886, something like that.
Okay. And to your knowledge, is she having to pay any rent at Mr. Giordano's house?
Nothing.
Okay. And can she assist based on your knowledge of her income? Can she assist with the marital household bills and take care of half of the mortgage?
I assume she could.
Okay. How much is your mortgage?
It is $1,456, I believe.
Okay. And do you need assistance with that?
Well, that or stop paying for her stuff.
Okay. Would you like for the court to allow you to stop paying for her cell phone? Tell the court what you would like to stop having to pay for and how much those bills are.
I would like to stop paying for her phone payment, her Apple Watch, things like that. That's all through Verizon. And I would like for her car payment to not have to pay for that anymore. And honestly, daycare is probably the biggest expense.
Has she assisted with daycare recently?
No.
Okay. Prior to filing for the divorce, did she assist on occasion with daycare?
No.
Okay. Are you asking, though, that this court order that she's responsible for some daycare so that you can make the house note?
Correct. If I'm going to pick up the extra stuff that she's not paying for, I would need her to help pick up for part of the daycare.
Okay. Tell the court how old Rowan is.
Rowan's 3.
Okay. And how old is Neeland?
I guess Neelan be 10 in September.
You heard me say that she accused you of putting your hands on her. Have you ever put your hands on her?
The only time I had touched her was when she was trying to drag Rowan off the back of the couch.
Okay. And did you just lay your hand on her and tell her to stop?
It was just to release her hands off of Rowan.
Okay. And was she doing that in a fit of anger?
Yes, she was angry.
Okay. Did you stay calm during that time period?
Yes, we left it. After that, we left and split ways.
Okay. Now, in her bank statements during this period of time, is she still getting her nails done?
Yes.
Spending between $80 to $120 every couple of weeks?
Yep.
Tell the court about what kind of homemaker she is as far as keeping the house clean. Who keeps the house clean?
Well, she's non-existent right now, but most of the time, whenever I would get home, I would always have dinner cooked for her most of the time. Now, she did cook some. Like I said, with the kids, I typically always dealt with the kids at night, especially. So she might have to do stuff in the mornings with the kids. But as far as the house goes, she kind of did the laundry. I tried to do dishes, keep the kitchen clean, things like that.
Does she have piles of trash laying around the house that she won't pick up after herself?
Right now, there's trash and laundry that needs to be taken care of, but because she's not there, it just kind of gets piled up. Now we have mice that we have to deal with, and I'm getting in trouble for trying to take that stuff outside and get rid of it.
So she gets mad at you if you try to clean it up because she sees it as you getting rid of things.
And she believes I was throwing some of Neelan's stuff out,
Okay.
which was being mice-ridden, so I was trying to keep that under control.
Okay. The night that she disrupted the sleep routine, did the child's, I'm sorry, Neelan, your stepchild, after she got served with this complaint for divorce, what did she tell Neelan?
She told Neelan that we were gonna split, and when he cried and said he wanted me and not her, that he loved her or he loved me more than her, and basically made him feel terrible.
And he was reaching for you at that time, right?
He was wanting to hug me, sit in the bed with me. So after crying for about an hour and a half, she did finally let him come get in the bed with me.
Does she have a relationship with her family that you know of?
Not really, no. She doesn't have too many people.
And do you have a good relationship with your family?
Yes, very much so.
Since Rowan's birth, has your child spent, since he was 6 weeks old, spent 1 day a week with your parents until the filing of this complaint for divorce?
Yes, every Wednesday night.
Okay. And after 3 years of spending one night with your parents a week, and the complaint gets filed and she gets served, tell the court what she told you.
That Rowan is no longer allowed to go to my parents' house with.
And did she have any good reason for making that?
No,
assertion?
just to hurt me, I'm assuming.
Okay. And so in order to cure that, did you go and stay with Rowan at your parents' house so that he would get his time with his grandparents?
Yes,
Do you have a good relationship with your parents?
very much so.
Okay. The reason she doesn't have a good relationship with her mother, is that because of these affairs she's had?
For right now, her mother lived with us for quite some time, and she has a tendency to be very rude and mean to her mother. And when her mother told her she felt like she was making a mistake or tried to confront her about the issue and tried to talk to her about it, she's basically kind of shunned her. So now her mother lives about an hour away, and I don't think they speak very much at all.
Okay. And did she order her mother out of the house?
She wanted her to leave, yes.
Okay. And how did you handle that?
I took the time to take my garage and built a little small, kind of a one-bedroom apartment for her. And when she did get her camper, I helped set up her camper, put the plug that she needed for outside. I helped dump her septic into our septic lines, things like that, so she could stay there as long as she could.
And so because because Miss Williams got in a tiff with her mother, you realized that it wasn't a reasonable request of Miss Williams to tell her mother to leave.
No.
Okay. And you assisted her mother to make sure her mother had housing.
Yes, I told her she could stay as long as she needed. Even if me and her were split and divorced, she could stay.
Okay. In an effort to keep things from exploding or anything else, have you just kind of gone along with what Ms. Williams has said until we could get to court today?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't want a 50-50 schedule, do you?
No, absolutely not.
Are you concerned about what she will expose this child to if she is given a 50-50?
Yes.
Okay. And can you give the court some examples of instances where she's not had this child's best interest at heart? Just tell the court.
Well, I know that there was a couple times that she had FaceTimed me, Rowan, and he's running around the swimming pool. Rowan cannot swim, and I know that he did not have a life jacket on because I could physically see it. And the 2 life jackets that we do own were at our house sitting on the table. So I know that he didn't have the ones that we bought, and I know that he didn't have one on. So I was worried about him falling in the pool. Like I said, he can't swim. Another, for instance.
And she was allowing him to run around a swimming pool without any flotation device?
Yes.
Okay, and was that at Mr. Giordano's parents' house?
It was.
And she was the one out on the pool deck that was observing this but wasn't doing anything about it, is
Correct.
that correct? Okay.
And the second instance there was a night that I basically stayed with my parents because she had Rowan and Nealon at the house. And like I said, I try not to cause too many waves with that. But I come in and there's a fishing pole strewn all over the house with string. So later that afternoon when she took the kids to Wade Giordano's house, I started picking up all of the fishing line and stuff like that, and coming to find out there was a sharp fishing hook barb laying on the floor that she had no clue it was even there. So when I confronted her about it, I said, hey, I would appreciate it if you would watch the kids a little bit closer. That's dangerous. We got lucky that they didn't have to go to the hospital. She told me that, well, nothing happened, so it's not a big deal.
So she brushed off your concerns. If she had is that correct? She
That's
brushed
correct.
off your concerns. If she had a concern with you about that, accidents can happen. And if she were to point something out like you, how would you if she were to point something out like that to you, how would you handle it?
I would try to figure out how to make that situation go away, because I definitely know I don't want my kids to get hurt.
Has she kind of turned this mess into a joke? Does she think it's funny?
It's funny to her. Nothing's being taken seriously.
When she first took the minor child over to Mr. Giordano's house, did she lie to you about where she was going?
Yes.
Who did she say she was going to see?
So she brought in Wade's, I guess it's his older daughter, into my house, which I had no clue who this girl was. And when I asked who this was, she gave me a name and then told me that it was one of her friend's daughters. And she's correct. It was one of her friend's daughters, but what she failed to mention was that she wasn't going to see her female friend. She was going to Wade's house, and made me believe that that's where she was going, was to her friend Lorraine's house.
In reviewing her bank statements, is it clear that she spent quite a bit of money going down to the brew house on Main Street and going to different places and not being a family with you?
Yes.
Okay. So with those bank statements, have you figured out that where she's been spending her time when she's not at home?
Yes, you can pretty much figure it out.
Tell the court about the concerns over the car seats.
Well, I know that that Wade has a Jeep, and they have constantly talked about how Rowan rides in the Jeep. And I am concerned with the fact that I know how difficult it is to get the car seat out of her car. I can't see them taking that car seat out and putting it in his Jeep every time they need to make a ride. So I am concerned that that's not being observed. I'm more worried about what will happen to him.
What is your child's bedtime usually?
I always make sure he's at least laying down by 8 to 8:30, because if not, the next day he's awful.
And since Miss Williams has exercised visitation with the child on the alternating daily schedule since this was served on her, has she messed up that routine for the child?
He hasn't been home before 9:30 ever since that's happened.
And has he been at Mr. Giordano's house, to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
How does the child handle the next day? What is the child's, is he exhausted?
He's exhausted, and typically I've had to take videos of whatnot of him just sitting on the floor crying because he can't regulate his emotions. He's exhausted. He's tired. So yeah, he's not very good to deal with, to be honest.
Sitting here today, do you think, based on what you know about the mother and the time she's actually spent with the child, does she even know what foods he likes?
If it wasn't something I told her, she wouldn't have found it out on her own.
Candies he likes?
Not unless she's seen me get it.
Favorite movies?
Only if it's something that's on his tablet that we started.
Is Miss Williams supposed to be on mental health medication?
Yes.
Is she taking those as she's directed?
No.
Did you find that she had been drinking with your minor children at the creek with Mr. Giordano? Did you find White Claws in a cooler in the back of her
Yes.
vehicle?
Yes. There was a White Claws in a cooler.
And had the children been with her?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have arrangements with your work schedule? I mean, have you always coordinated the kids' schedule with your schedule?
Yes, luckily I work for my father, so I get the opportunity to, if anything comes up or arises, I can leave at any time. I can adjust our schedules depending on what my kids' needs are.
What are you doing for your father?
I pour concrete.
Okay. And what are your normal hours, usually about 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.?
Yes, normally.
Sometimes you may have an early concrete pour, but
Yeah, it's very rare. We normally always are meeting by 6:30. We go to a breakfast spot right across from Rowan's daycare every day, so he gets to eat breakfast with all the guys and be a part of the guys, and then I walk him across the street to take him to daycare. So we work out a schedule where it's 6:30 is when we meet, we eat breakfast at 7, and then I take him over to daycare.
And you submitted a temporary parenting plan to this court. Is that what you're asking the court to award you on a temporary basis until we can get to final hearing?
Yes.
And despite having filed a motion for step-parent visitation rights based on Ms. Williams kind of poisoning the well, are you okay with waiving that motion at this time for the sake of the minor child?
Just for his mental state. I know he's going through a lot right now.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell this court?
I don't believe so.
Judge, I'll pass the witness. Ms. Williams, if you would, please state your name for the record.
Teresa Ann Williams.
And Ms. Williams, what do you do for a living?
I'm a purchasing coordinator for Tennessee Donor Services. I work from home 3 days, 3 days a week. Have to go in 2 days a week.
Okay. And since Rowan was 6 weeks old, have you kept that minor child?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you kept that child at least once a week since he was six weeks old?
Yes, ma'am.
After the filing of this complaint for divorce, did Ms. Williams order that the minor child wasn't to be at your home anymore?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did Mr. Williams do everything he could to coordinate to make sure that child still stayed in that schedule that you had?
Yes, ma'am.
And that schedule that you had, was that something that you established because you saw that Ms. Williams was not stepping up as a mother?
Yes, we just felt like that because she wasn't a participant, that Ethan was under a lot of stress, not ever getting a break. So we felt like that one day a week would give him a break that he needed, and it would also give us the time to spend with Rowan. I mean, Rowan has his own room and his own playroom in our house. He's very loved.
And so you stepped in the gap when you saw that Ms. Williams was not doing her share of the parenting at home. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, you heard Mr. Williams testify that he's been the primary caregiver for this child that we're here about today. Is that accurate?
That's completely accurate.
Okay. You've seen him father Neeland, is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Has he done more parenting of Neeland than Ms. Williams has done?
Absolutely.
Okay. Has he coordinated with Neeland's dad to make sure his dad has a relationship with that child?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And since the filing of the complaint for divorce, have you noticed a change in Ms. Williams wherein she's trying to now act like a parent?
Yes, since the filing.
Okay. Have you been disappointed in her efforts to act like a parent?
Yes, it's very disheartening. The things that she's put, Rowan through, and of what he's having to go through, it's hard for us to take as grandparents.
Okay. And you've seen it affect Rowan?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. In your mind, strike that, Judge. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the court about Mr. Williams as a father and Mr. Williams' schedule and his ability to care for this child?
Ethan has always been a great dad. He has always put Rowan first, no matter what, no matter what it was. Ethan always comes first, is his priority, and even Neeland. And it breaks our heart that he cannot have a relationship with Neeland, who he's raised. And Neeland has spent time at our house. He's close to us too, and I just think that's been so washed away just from her actions. And as far as Ethan goes, I mean, he's an outstanding dad. I mean, we've watched him change every diaper when he was sick at night, him set up all night long, holding him. He's always put Rowan first.
And have you made those observations about Miss Williams?
Yes. I mean, there have been times that they would come to the camper on the weekend, and she would do absolutely nothing. I mean, Ethan would have to do everything. She didn't help. She doesn't help with the kids. She doesn't help with the dishes. She doesn't help do anything, but she's just concerned about herself.
And have you seen her be not attentive to the children and overly attentive to her phone and Snapchat and Twitter and TikTok with all these men? Have you observed her discussing things with men that she probably shouldn't?
I myself have not, but I've always noticed and witnessed that she's always on her phone, always. It's like it's glued to her.
Are you concerned about the safety of your grandson based on her failure to attend to the child?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, Rowan has been with us 1 day a week since he was born. I mean, they went on a vacation when he was 6 weeks old, and he stayed with us the entire week. And up until a couple of weeks ago, when Neelan still had a relationship with Ethan, maybe a few more, maybe more like 30 days, she told Ethan, Neelan was still playing ball, and she even told Ethan, well, your mom and dad's gonna have to help us this week with with Rowan, keeping him at night because of Neelan's ball games. But now we can't even say hello to Neelan. We're not allowed to talk to him.
Have you observed Miss Williams fail to come to ball games for Neeland that your son is at?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and have you supported Neeland almost as your own grandchild?
We have, absolutely.
Okay. And he comes to spend the night with you,
Yes.
kind of like Rowan did, is that
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
Maybe not as often, but
Right, not as often, but, and that's primarily because Neelan is in school. He needs to be at home and go to bed and Rowan's not. He's not in school yet. So, we've always brought Neelan on, and he's gone fishing. We've taken him fishing. When we go on trips, we always bring Neelan things back.
can you think in your mind of any reason why Miss Williams would have to restrict your time with Rowan?
Just to hurt Ethan. That's it. She knows what Neelan means to us, and for those people that know us, everyone in our neighborhood, everywhere, they know how much Rowan adores us, and it's broken us.
Judge, I think that's all. I'll pass it.
Ms. Williams, do you have any questions for this witness? All right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
If you would, please state your full name for the record.
Kennedy Clinton Lindsay.
Okay, and Mr. Lindsay, where are you working right now?
I work for Dow Tile Courts. I'm a maintenance supervisor.
And you see Miss Williams here, is that correct?
Yes.
You've had a relationship with Miss Williams, is that correct?
I guess, yes. I guess however you want to define relationship.
Okay. And you're currently married, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you two sent text messages and Facebooks back and forth, even as late as May and June of this year, is that correct?
Yes. I think my first contact with her was in May.
Okay. And so she went from you to Mr. Giordano in June. Did you know about Mr. Giordano?
Yes, she told me.
Okay, that she was dating him, right?
Yes. So that's when I, erased my messages or whatever because I wasn't talking to her anymore.
And we're here today, you don't have all the text messages with her because you erased them since you're still married, is that correct? And she had moved on to another
But no,
man.
my wife already knew. Even Ethan just testified to that. So.
But you erased those. They were not something that you would feel comfortable sharing with everyone either.
Well, I'd never intended on sharing it with anybody. I erased them before I even knew I was getting subpoenaed. It was.
I'm not saying that you did anything wrong. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying is you wouldn't necessarily, the way the two of you were carrying on, feel comfortable having anybody in this courtroom read all of those text messages based on, some of them were dirty, right?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And in your TikToks and Snapchats back and forth, and Instagram messages, did y'all do Instagram messages? back
I
and
think
forth?
there was one video shared.
You, one of the TikToks you shared with her said something about, show me your titties. Do you remember that?
Not necessarily.
Okay. I mean, you're not proud of what you two sent back and forth, are you?
But in a private conversation, that's a private conversation. You don't really expect it to be aired out in court, but.
Fair enough, and I'm not going to air it very much.
Okay.
But you understand that you're married and she's married, and probably in retrospect, the two of you shouldn't have been sending those messages back and forth.
Yes.
Fair enough?
Yeah, there's, she said she was getting divorced. I'm also getting divorced. So,
So in May of this
was,
year, she said she was getting a divorce?
yes,
Okay. To your knowledge, did she ever file for divorce?
no,
And she met you, instead of going home several times, she went to the post office to meet you. She met you at work twice. She bought you a shirt, is that correct?
Yes.
And you took her lunch to her work several times, and then you saw her at one of your dental appointments, is that correct?
Yes.
This is what you sent her. Judge, if I may approach.
All right.
I love
Yeah, it's like a meme.
two married parties, that's probably not appropriate, is it?
No.
After you got subpoenaed and she found out that you were subpoenaed, did she contact you?
Yes, she called me.
Okay. And,
I didn't answer. I was in a meeting at work.
okay, and what did the two of you say to one another?
I don't know. It's there. I don't know exactly what was said. She called me. I said, I'm in a meeting. She said, Ethan is taking you to court or subpoenaing you or whatever. And I said, yeah, I know. I just got served like 20 minutes ago. I don't know what else was said after that. It's there though.
Okay, was she telling you what you had and had not done with her in some of those text messages about, pretty sure we'd only had one lunch, you brought me lunch once?
That's what it seemed like. So I just said this conversation is over because I knew I would have to supply what I did have, and I didn't want it to seem like we were concocting some kind of plan or
Right,
something.
and you've said today that you brought her lunch more than once and she brought you lunch more than once. Is that correct,
Absolutely,
sir?
yeah.
Ms. Duke, this is not a divorce hearing. This is only on the custody issues. Is there a reason why we have to hear all of this about what's going on? I mean, obviously, this is an extramarital relationship between him and her, and that has been well established. But beyond that, is there any relevance to the?
Time away from the children, time away from the child.
I think you've established that. So.
And I am done actually with him, but I would like to submit this as the next marked exhibit.
Hand that to the clerk. And again, Ms. Williams, you have the opportunity to ask questions if you want. All right, thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you.
Plaintiff has rested their proof. Ms. Williams, do you wish to testify? Understand, you are not required to testify. You're acting as your own attorney. Today's hearing is a temporary hearing that's designed only for me to make a determination of what should be done on a temporary basis. You have the right to testify if you choose to do so. You're not required to. I'm not asking you to. I'm simply saying this is your opportunity to tell me your side of things if you do. If you testify, then Ms. Duke will be able to cross-examine you, after you've finished giving me your original testimony. So it's really up to you. Do you want to testify and give your version of any of these events? All right, come on up. Ms. Williams, this is your opportunity to tell me anything that you feel like is important for me to know about the matters I have to decide today. And those are the temporary parenting plan for you and your child and Mr. Williams. And then secondly is the division of debt, where you're being asked to assume responsibility for certain debts. So if you want to tell me whatever you want to tell me, I'll be glad to hear it.
A lot of the stuff they did say is true. Obviously, I did have one full-on affair. I never did anything with Clint except hang out with him and do stuff, and I am dating someone now. But my ability to be able to parent is not affected by what I did with him. I have full custody of my 9-year-old child that I've taken care of with his dad for almost 10 years now. We have an amazing relationship. We come to agreements with each other. That's what I want to happen with him, hopefully in the future. And I know everything is just very hectic right now because of everything that happened and how he found out. I should have been the one to tell him. But me doing that doesn't affect my ability to be able to parent Rowan. And for he's saying that he wants what's best for his kid isn't, to me, seeing me every other weekend. That's not what's going to be best for him or either one of us. I know what kind of mom I am, and everybody I'm around knows that. Along with the vehicle, it's caught up to date. I don't have my phone to be able to screenshot that and show him. But I will take over my phone bill. I actually asked him how much it was to pay off the phone so I could put it in my name. And one thing he forgot to say was my car insurance, which I need to put in my name. He forgot that. But I don't think that me cheating on him affects my ability to be able to parent, because when I was doing it, Rowan was at daycare, my son was in school. So I don't think that I was going out and doing other things when I shouldn't have. Or when I saw Clint, he was with him on his day. So I don't, to me, that isn't my ability to be able to take my kid away from me.
Anything else you want to say?
No, sir.
Ms. Duke, do you want to cross-examine?
You've spent multiple nights away from the home, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Williams has taken care of the house note and would like exclusive possession of the home. You understand that, right?
I do understand that.
Okay, and do you have a problem with that?
I do have a problem with it because I'm the one that pays the water, the electric, the gas.
Do you want to continue to pay those things? When was the last time you paid them? Let me ask that first.
Last time I paid them, I just paid the electric bill yesterday,
How much was that?
$308. The next one's due on the 22nd, it's $180 something.
So it was behind?
Maybe a few days, 8 days, maybe.
And you've repeatedly lied to him about who you're talking to and why you're talking to them, is that correct?
About certain things, I would say, yeah, I haven't
Okay.
told him the full truth.
And so how do you expect this court to believe anything that you're saying today?
Because I have full confidence in myself as a parent, and I know I can parent. I may not be a good wife,
Okay.
but I'm a really good mom.
Okay, but does that explain you going to all of Cody Beatty's children's ball games and not Neelan's ball games?
I missed 2 of Neelan's ball games. One I was in Gatlinburg, one I was out for work, so I don't know how you wanted me to not go to that.
And, I'm not answering questions here, you are, so.
Okay, yeah, I'm just confused how Neelan has anything to do with him when he's not the parent. I'm parenting with his
You
dad.
just need to listen to the questions that you're asked and answer those questions.
And you understand that he pretty much has stepped in the gap for you. He has done the parenting of Neelan, right?
I don't think so.
Well, he doesn't administer baths to make sure that Neelan eats?
Neelan gives himself showers, so no. And if he cooked dinner, then I'm sure Neelan did eat.
Okay, and he had a very good relationship with Neelan before this complaint for divorce was filed, didn't he?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, and you ruined that by saying something to him about him filing the complaint for divorce, didn't you? Let me finish asking the question, didn't you?
No.
Okay, so you didn't tell him in front of Mr. Williams that Mr. Williams had filed for divorce and was going to break up this family?
I did not. Neelan actually doesn't even know we're going through a divorce. Neelan knew we split up, and we had that argument in front of each other.
Okay.
Me and his dad had a conversation and decided it was in Neelan's best interest right now not to be around him. And he has physically told us he doesn't want to be around him. He won't even come to our house right now.
Okay. And that's because, are you looking at him for some reason?
I'm just
when
looking at
I'm
him
the one
because-
asking you questions?
I'm just looking at him because that's what's happening.
Okay.
Let's confine our theatrics to asking questions and letting her answer the question.
Sure. You did not care for Neelan like Mr. Williams did you?
That is not accurate.
Mr. Williams pick him up?
Okay, from school?
Uh-huh.
Sometimes, not a lot. My mom did.
And Mr. Williams, well, your mom's moved over an hour away, correct?
Just moved,
Okay.
maybe a month ago.
Mr. Williams assists with making dinners for Neelan, correct?
Occasionally,
Okay.
when we did cook.
And Mr. Williams coached the child. And you want to tell this court that this child on his own had some epiphany that Mr. Williams is a bad guy.
I wouldn't say he did it on his own. He saw us get into an argument.
That's all, Judge.
All right, thank you. You may step down. All right, this matter is here on a temporary custody hearing or adoption of a temporary parenting plan and associated motion. I'm going to rule on the adoption of a parenting plan, number one. I'm required by law to look at the statute for the factors that are set forth in TCA 366106 in order to determine a parenting plan and who should be the primary residential parent. Those factors are as follows: the strength, nature, and stability of the child's relationship with each parent, including whether one parent has performed the majority of parenting responsibilities relating to the daily needs of the child. Court finds that Mr. Williams has been the parent who has performed the majority of parenting responsibilities during the daily needs of the child based on the credible testimony that's been offered in this court. Both parents may have a good relationship with the child, but Mr. Williams has demonstrated more stability in his life. Each parent or caregiver's past or potential for future performance of parenting responsibilities, including the willingness and ability of each of the parents to facilitate and encourage a close and continuing parent-child relationship between the child and both of the child's parents, consistent with the best interests of the child. And this court is of the opinion that Mr. Williams has also been the parent who has demonstrated the best potential for future performance of parenting responsibilities. His stability, he's living in the home. It's been shown to this court's satisfaction that he was a good stepfather to this Nealon, and that he has encouraged a good relationship between Nealon and his father, as well as to encourage the relationship between his child and the mother. But I also find that the evidence indicates that while Mrs. Williams may deny it, that the facts before the court and the evidence before the court indicates that she has not been above using the relationship between Nealon and Mr. Williams as a weapon against Mr. Williams. In any event, it's an unfortunate situation, but the court does find that that factor favors Mr. Williams. Don't have any evidence to show that either of them has refused to attend the parent education seminar. They'll both have to do that. I do find that the disposition of each parent to provide the child with food, clothing, medical care, education, and other necessities, that is, in my opinion, again, Mr. Williams has been the primary caregiver for the child, and for that reason, I think that factor is in his favor. The degree to which each parent has been the primary caregiver, and that's, again, the parent who has taken the greater responsibility for performing the parental responsibilities, again, I find that has been Mr. Williams. The love, affection, and emotional ties existing between each parent and the child, I think they both love the child, and I think that the evidence is, at least before me, that the child has a very close bond with his father, and for that reason, I find that that factor favors the father as well. Emotional needs and developmental level of the child is very young, so therefore it's not really any evidence about the emotional needs of the child. The moral, physical, mental, and emotional fitness of each parent as it relates to the ability to parent the child. I understand what Ms. Williams is saying about the fact that she doesn't feel like it affects the fact that she engaged in extramarital affairs, had other relationships, that it doesn't affect her ability to parent the child because the child was never around and taken into that situation. But nonetheless, that is a factor that the court has to consider. And clearly, I have no evidence to indicate that Mr. Williams has got any issues, but Ms. Williams engaging in 3 different relationships, whether they were full-blown, as she said, sexual affair, or whether they were just an emotional affair and teetering on the edge of a full-blown affair, it still clearly demonstrates that she has some issues, maybe in her marriage, maybe in her person, that affect, in my opinion, her ability to parent the child. And for that reason, I find that factor to be in the father's favor. The child's interaction and interrelationships with other siblings and other relatives. I think that the child has obviously grandparents that love him very much and want to be involved in his life, and the fact that Mrs. Williams has now attempted to sever that relationship and interfere with their ability to be involved in this child's life, again, speaks to her parenting as well as her emotional level and this maturity level, in my opinion. And the child does have other siblings in the mother's home as well that need to have some interaction with him. The love, affection, let's see. Number 9, the child's interaction and interrelationships with the siblings. I find that to be an equal situation simply because of the fact that that both of them, she has another child that's a half sibling or a half brother to this child. And I think that as well as the other parents, grandparents on the father's side, that those two kind of balance each other out. The importance of continuity in the child's life, number 10, and the length of time the child has lived in a stable, satisfactory environment. The court finds that Mr. Williams has provided a stable environment, that he has, in my opinion, given this child a great deal more stability. In fact, when the child comes to her, when the child's with her and she brings the child back to spend the night at the marital residence with the father, that speaks volumes about the stability in there. So I find that favors the father as well. I do not find any evidence of physical or emotional abuse to this child. Character and behavior of any other person who resides in or frequents the home of the parent and the person's interaction with the child. The only thing I have about that is Mr. Giordano, who is going through a divorce apparently, and clearly the evidence is that the two of them are in a relationship and that they are cohabiting, so to speak, according to the proof. But Mr. Giordano, I never heard from him, so I don't know anything about him other than the fact that he is married and going through a divorce. So we have two people both married, going through a divorce, and they end up in a relationship together, which is not at all unusual in these types of situations. The reasonable preference of a child is not applicable. Each parent's employment schedule, Mr. Williams's employment schedule clearly favors him because he worked with his father and therefore he can make arrangements and has the ability to modify a schedule as might be appropriate. Any other factors deemed by the court just simply finds that Mr. Williams's relationship with this child and his home stability that he can offer the child is much more appropriate, and on a temporary basis at least, the court finds that he should be designated the primary residential parent. The mother shall have I know she says that it's not in the child's best interest for her to have alternate weekends, but neither does this court find that with the lack of stability in her life that an equal residential schedule would be appropriate. And as a result of that, on a temporary basis, she will have alternate weekends from Thursday at 6 p.m. until Sunday at 6 p.m. Any other times that the parties may agree. Now, I say this last part so that Mr. Williams can understand. I understand you may go through this divorce and you may have strong feelings about her, and her attitude may determine how this goes as well. But this child belongs to the two of you, and both of you should be involved in this child's life, and you should try to facilitate the best relationship you can with both parents. That means you're going to have to set aside the fact that she's been unfaithful to you and that she's moved on with her life. Eventually, you may too. And when that happens, hopefully both of you will recognize that it's really up to the two of you to parent this child. And when you do, if you can set aside the animosity and try to resolve a situation, and if Mrs. Williams can understand that it does her no good to be angry and hostile towards you now that you've been through court, but instead try to have a meaningful relationship with each other so that you can encourage this child to be with the mother, you can give her more time than what I've given. That will not be a violation of this court order. So how this goes from here will be up to the two of you. So the reason I've included language is that the minimum she gets is this alternate weekends on Thursday at 6 to Sunday at 6. And any other times the parties may agree. You love Neelan. Neelan this is his brother. So the more you can allow her to see the child and let Neelan have a part in his life, then the better you are. I'm not saying you have to give her a week on, a week off. I'm just simply saying be flexible and give her an additional time beyond what I've ordered, and I think you'll reap the benefit of it in the long run. But, Ms. Williams, you don't have the right to demand more than what has been ordered. You need to get a lawyer to give you some advice. You need to consult a lawyer at the very least. Regarding these requests regarding the payment of certain expenses, I think what I had written down was that Mr. Williams is given temporary possession exclusively of the marital residence. And she will be allowed, if she has any items there she needs to get, you will coordinate a time when she can recover those items, and there'll be no hostility or anything that will go on during that exchange of those items. She is
Would it be appropriate for there to be a provision that if the child?
Yeah, if this child is in or around the pool, it needs to have a flotation device on at all times. There was a case in, I don't know if it was in Nashville, but it was on the news of a child that the parties were all there around the pool and they were having a good time. And there was a 2 or 3 year old child that somebody that fell into the water and they didn't notice it at that time and ended up having to be life flighted to try to resuscitate the child because it can happen that quickly. And so if you're having this child around a pool, it needs to always have a flotation device on. And they make some pretty incredible devices. You can put a vest on them and not worry about it. All right, the mortgage is going to be his responsibility because I've given him the exclusive possession of the marital residence. She will pay for her car, her cell phone, and the Apple Watch, whatever that Verizon is. She'll also transfer the insurance on her car to herself. I'm not going to order that she contribute to the daycare because we're going to calculate the child support based upon the proof before me. The evidence that was indicated about her income, I think it was about $3,500 a month is what
It was, and we actually, if she'll provide a pay stub, I don't mind to do it based on.
All right, both sides will exchange. You'll provide with Ms. Duke with a copy of your most recent pay stub so the child support can be calculated. It will be based on the 90 days for her and $275 for him on a temporary basis, and she will be ordered to pay child support according to whatever that computes to be. And that is the judgment of the court.
All right. So I think that's it. Okay, here's my thoughts. And now let's hear y'all thoughts as well. Okay, let me break some stuff down. Let's go into the father's lawyer, attorney. I think she did a great job in the beginning. I like how both her and the father, they was on the same page. I like that he gave, very short answers, because when you're doing these things, you don't want to overdo your answers to a question. Just keep it very short, simple, and clean and clear and very precise. So I like that. One thing I think his lawyer could have done better, or at least did wrong, is that she started to push too hard in regarding the affair. Although it did help, the reason why I say that is because at one point I forgot this was like a child custody temporary time sharing hearing. I thought it was like a divorce, hearing. I'm like, okay, it must be a divorce thing, but really, it's not. Even though they are getting a divorce, but this particular hearing was not about divorcing. It was more about temporary time sharing. So she went too hard on it. Even the judge even said, okay, listen, this is not a divorce matter. It's a temporary time sharing matter. Let's stick to the point. So that's one thing I could say she could improve on. And another thing is she could improve on is that she was hemming the mother too hard. And here's what I said. Not that she deserved leniency, but one thing I've learned in the court hearings is that it doesn't matter how bad the mother messes up, how grimy she is in a relationship, or how much wrong she is regarding the child. The judges, for some reason, majority, not all judges, but majority of judges in this family court system will always be a lot much more nicer to the mom. They'll have a little soft spot for the mom. They won't really scold the mom like they should, like they would if that was the father doing all the wrong. And especially when the mother doesn't have an attorney and she's pro se, which means she represents herself, that means the judge will 9 out of 10 try their best to protect the mom. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, as you can see, at one point, even the judge was like, okay, don't go too hard on her, right? But overall, I think the lawyer did an amazing job. It was very clean, precise. But just a little minor things to improve on. And as far as the mother goes, I mean, first of all, shame on you, you know what I'm saying, for doing all of that, knowing that you was married. And also, too, for the mom, I mean, I don't know why she didn't have a attorney. She should have. But now, here's one thing I'm going to say regarding temporary time sharing plan. For those watching that, but that's either about to go to a court hearing or involving some kind of custody battle right now as we speak, especially fathers, right? Because this is called man abuse, right? So because a lot of fathers get treated unfairly. So I want to really put a spotlight and help fathers out as much as I can, because every kid needs both parents, but also every child needs their father as well. Listen up. A temporary time sharing plan, once that get approved by the judge, those plans, they are very difficult to change based on how long they've been in effect before your actual final court hearing. Once you get a temporary time sharing plan in place, it's not easy to modify that or change it. Most of the time, those kind of plans, although it sounds, temporary, I mean, it is temporary, but 9 out of 10, those temporary plans end up becoming the final judgment, the final plan. So be very careful when you are trying to request a temporary time sharing plan. Be very careful when you're trying to battle against a temporary time sharing plan, because if a good 1 year or 2 years pass by, the lawyer of that other party can say, Your Honor, we requesting that we remain with the same time sharing plan, because if you change it, it will throw the entire child's schedule and off balance and so on and so on, which means, it would just kind of ruin what's already in place, what the child already used to. And a lot of these hearings can go on for years. It might take 1 or 2 years before before a hearing reaches final court hearing, a final judgment, I should say. So you never know how long it'll take. So when you make up these plans, or trying to get them to approve or be dismissed or whatever the case might be, think of it as like this might be the final time sharing plan. Overall, and that's what the judge go. I mean, like I said, he did his job, I guess. I mean, nothing unique, nothing special. He did his job. There was too much, I guess, evidence against the mother for him to really, say otherwise. And even the mom admitted that, a lot of things they said was true. So, I mean, it was a very easy case to approve the father's, plan. Overall, I mean, I think it was a very decent hearing. It was long as hell. But everybody watching, man, listen, if you are married, don't cheat, man. Most importantly, treat the kids good. Even if you're married, don't let just one party or one spouse take care of the child all the time. That's why I tell every dudes, even though they say that the moms are the nurturers and so on and so on, don't let the mom take care of the child only in the house. You know what I'm saying? Step up as well. Be a very hands-on parent, because if you ever go to a divorce, just like how the father used all that against her, they can use that against you as well. So don't just go to work and come home and just pay the bills. No, actually be involved in them kids' lives. Go to their little soccer games, change their diapers, be really involved, both, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, all around. So when you do go to court, you can say, nah, I've been involved since day one, So with that being said, what was your thoughts though? Write it below, comment below. What did you think about the entire court hearing? Do you agree with the judge decision? Do you think the father asked for too much or too little? Was his attorney good? Not good? Did the mom deserve what she received as for the final, judgment for this particular court hearing? Was she in the wrong for cheating? I mean, hopefully you agree she wasn't wrong, because, cheating is bad, okay? Don't do that if you're married with kids. Even without kids, just don't cheat, right? But yeah, what was your exact thoughts about this entire court hearing? Comment below. I want to hear and see what you guys think. But yeah, also like the video, share the video, and definitely subscribe, because that will make me want to put out more videos for y'all. So at the end of the day, have a good day. And once again, kids need both parents, and also do not utilize the child as a weapon, as a pawn, as a way to hurt the other party. Do not be a villain. Villains are the ones that intentionally hold the child. You know how villains be in movies where they're like, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, then the child get it, or you never see your kid no more. Don't use the child as a hostage to hurt the other party. All right? Let that child see both parents as long both parents are safe. That's my thoughts, y'all. Other than that, man, I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.